What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
It's a great way to start. We're just dead silent. You look so low to your screen today. Like you look like you're like this.
This is how we're starting the show.
Yeah, that's good. That's better. That looks more.
Is that better? That chair's fine.
No, it literally was like this. So it looks so weird. Hello, everyone.
Anyone who knows and follows us knows what this episode is going to be about, like right away.
Knows what the past, how many hours has it been? 72?
72.
Ooh, I just took a wild guess. The past, 72 hours have been. What literally Thursday at 9 a.m. was like. Yeah, we're coming to you from a Monday afternoon because we just got back from Miami.
we are what? How many hours off the plane? 2 hours off the plane?
Yeah, literally. We landed right before 1 o'clock. That's just what this episode is going to be all about. We're literally not doing a meme of the week. We're not doing weekly news,
no news,
whatever. It's just literally a Miami recap from our experience to how we even ended up in Miami to everything about the entire weekend, the race itself, after the race, just what we were able to experience because it's still. We should probably keep a tally mark of how many times we say it's unreal, the coolest thing, like just an insane experience.
Can we edit that in post?
Yeah,
I'm gonna. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna open up.
You're literally gonna keep them.
And I'm gonna keep a tally. And if we can't edit it in post, I will at least tweet it out when we.
This coffee needs to bring me back to life right now. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, this is my second cup, and I'm doing better, but I'm hurting still a little bit. So what are we doing? Miami recap.
That's literally it.
I'm just gonna do. Oh my god. And it was blank counter.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, so we, like we said, we are 2 hours off the plane coming back from Miami. We found out. So, do you want to tell the story of how we got there?
Yes, and I hate to tell you this. Can you maybe put headphones on because I can kind of hear myself every once in a while?
Yeah,
with an echo.
Yeah, hold on.
Sorry.
I hope these are charged.
Okay. What was we? Oh yeah.
So we were telling the story of how we realized we were going to Miami.
So Wednesday night we had no plan to go. Literally no plan to go.
But our plans were to watch it over the weekend.
Yes. We were discussing having a watch party online, how we normally do on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Literally had no plan. We have family that live down in Florida, and they texted asking what was going on down there and stuff, and said that they had tickets and all this thing. And she was like, "You guys should come. I can get you guys tickets." And we were I was like, oh, "Okay, yeah." I was starting to look at flights. Thursday, get up, still 7 a.m. No plans to go. Literally at all. Nothing.
When I started work on Thursday, we did not have plans to go.
No. I get to. I think it was hold on, I should scroll back because I texted you.
Yeah, you texted me 9:15, right after 9, basically just saying hey, what if we actually do this?
Yeah, no, okay, so it was early. It was 7:25. I said good luck with the call today.
Off.
Yeah. So 8:36, I sent, what if we actually went?
Yeah.
You sent back, not even a second later, to Miami, ? I sent, yes, LOL. And I sent you flights, and then we had to make sure we could get tickets. So yeah, by 9 a.m. Thursday, we decided we were going. Literally bought planes, had found flights, made sure our works were okay. We were good to go. Literally leave. We're then freaking out. I was like, okay, well, we have to like pack and stuff because we were leaving Friday morning super early. So yeah, we leave Friday morning. That was Thursday. Actually, was a whirlwind in itself. Trying to like with planning so freaking last minute. And if you know Owen and I, that's not us.
If I'm taking a trip anywhere, it involves me like getting on a plane. Yeah, I need at least like 2 months set up. And even then, that's still like, oh shit, we're taking a trip. Like, I'm getting on a plane in 2 months. I don't like flying. Like, so yeah.
Yeah, we have never done anything this spontaneous, this out of the blue, like anything like this. And we've said before, we have never going to an F1 race was like a pipe dream. We thought because
it was a pipe dream. We
never thought we'd be able to afford it. It was never going to like fall in our lap like this. It literally was the perfect situation, and I was like, we can't miss something like this. It's the perfect time to go. So yeah. Thursday happens. Get home from work. We're both packing, whatever. We leave Friday morning, very, very early. We get down to Florida. Early. Yeah, we get down to Florida, which Friday was FP1 and sprint quali. We take like public transit, or no, we drive to a train station, take a train, and then take a shuttle, which I do have to say, transportation and like getting to the track was easy.
Yes.
So easy. For an event that big. And because all the inner parking lots next in the stadium were taken by F1 because of the track and everything else. So it was all outside areas. It was very well organized, I have to say. Like extremely well organized. Were you going to say something?
No, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, it was just like we said it so many times beside our freak outs of actually being there and going through those emotions, like getting there. Like I remember us walking into the track on Friday and being like, why was it so, it was almost too easy to get there. Like it was like you got on the train and then it was like,
well, let's say how we almost missed the train.
So we almost missed the train. So we left from where we were staying to the train station that we got on was about a half-hour ride, and we thought we'd left with enough time. We did. Like it wasn't like we were like running late. Like we planned it.
They just quote unquote closed boarding for a train like 5 minutes early.
We get there, and I have the tickets on my phone, and it's like your normal just QR scan, like go through the terminal, and we scan it, and it pops up, and it says boarding closed. And we're maybe like 3 minutes early, like the train's scheduled to leave in like 3 minutes or something. And there's the officers on the other side of the terminal, and they're like, "What train are you getting on?" And we're like, like literally that one right there, like that we can see it below us. We're like that one, and they're super nice, and they're like, here you go. Like they swipe us through, we go running down. They radio to the people down there. They're like, "Hey, you got 2 more coming," like all this stuff. Lo and behold, we get on the train. We're good, right? But the part that was easy to me is like with this event, which is so large. You were telling me the night before that once we figured it out. You were like, if we book this train, it says that we get a complimentary shuttle from the train station to the track, which was like, okay, we're gonna do that. And if you've ever
like a school bus, like
if you've ever been to a sporting event, like this large or any sporting event really, where they're like, hey, we have a shuttle service that can take you from this spot to this spot. 9 times out of 10, at least in the US, I don't know how it is, in Europe for European sports, it's a shit show. Like it's either like a shitty, like it's a shitty service, it's like really disorganized, or it's like
school bus, like it's uncomfortable, you're smushed.
It's so awful. We got off the train, we walked out, We walked out of the station, which was like not difficult. It was a very small station. And right there were people saying, like,
Yeah, we
F1
walked right
shuttle,
onto the bus.
like, come this way. And it also helped too that there were people on the train with gear on. So you and I were both kind of like, let's follow the masses. We're going to do that. So we get off and we follow the masses. And it is this mega tour bus and like Greyhound bus. And it is like, you're comfortable. Everybody has like a comfy seat. Everybody's got a charger at their seat, like an outlet, like all this stuff. And it is, we sit down and I think 5 minutes later we're off and we're running. We're going to the, and it was so easy. And then it dropped us off and there was people right outside the door once we got off and they were like, hey, just go that way and you'll like go that way and you'll get there. And it was like, okay. And it was so easy and organized for a sporting event that large. Again, I don't know how it works, European races or European sporting events, but to have that smooth of an experience going to our first Grand Prix, like it was just, it made it so much more enjoyable because it was like, you weren't concerned about like, okay, we're getting in this shady little car to shuttle us over. It's like, this is like, and it wasn't like, the other thing too is that when we got there, it wasn't like one tour bus and it was like, they're going to drive the 30 minutes with traffic over to the stadium and then back and we have to wait. It was like 10, we're right there. And it was like, everybody funneled on, that tour bus left, the other one pulled up, everybody funneled on and it just rotated that way. And it was like, this is so smooth. Like it was awesome.
But even like the next 2 days, like we drove ourselves, we ended up getting parking. Even just driving like a car to the parking lot. And yes, you had to walk really far. Or like yesterday, we jumped on one of those little bike carriage things with the little like thing on the back. It was, even that was easy. And I think the first day is what we hit the most traffic leaving the track.
Yeah.
But we were also in tour buses. Like we never hit traffic yesterday or the day before.
Right, we hit traffic because we were on megabus navigating through these tiny streets. Once we got off like one of the larger roads.
I feel like it did go like a weird way to get back. It didn't go the same way we took to get back on the highway each time.
No,
like it went like out of its way and then like came around. But literally the moment we woke up Thursday morning, we were like, "This is happening." We get to the airport. This is happening. We're sitting on the plane. We're getting ready to take off. We're like, wait, we're going? We landed. We were just, I'm still in disbelief, but the excitement building up until we were on that shuttle and you could see the Hard Rock coming. Yep. We were pulling up to the Hard Rock. We both looked at each other. We were like, you said it. You were like, thank God it's just us, because we probably looked crazy because we were so excited. We looked like little kids on Christmas.
I think genuinely, thank God we were walking, because if we had to like stand still or something, like it would have been me Sunday. That like, you couldn't stand. We couldn't stand still. Like like you said, just the fact that we were there, and just the fact that we were like, we were gonna be at this event, and it was like, it just felt so surreal. And like, I don't even know if it has still clicked in my head that we were there.
No, it definitely has not clicked in my head yet that we actually were there.
I do really think, because seeing one in person versus watching it on TV is radically different. And I think that's something that I learned, and I'm sure you learned it too this weekend. Yeah. It's radically different. You're obviously, you don't have a view of the entire track, and you can't see all the drivers on the track at the same time. Not like a broadcast where you're seeing the battles that are all happening and everything. I don't think it's going to hit me that we were there until I rewatch the broadcast. That's when I think it's going to hit me that we were there, because I'm going to look at that and be like, holy shit, that we were standing right there. We saw that. We were looking at that turn. We saw that overtake happen. Like, just all those tiny little details, just to be like, oh my God. Like,
But even like as we got there, it was right as FP1 was starting. So we're like walking over the bridge, like crossing the one track to get through, and we could hear the cars. And the first time you heard that car go by, It was like,
Oh,
I mean, it was pretty much instant chills. I have to, I'm
we
not
stopped.
afraid to say
You
to
and
a
I just
minute.
looked at each other. Like, we
Yeah.
were like, what the hell did we just hear? Like,
And we get down that bridge and we go right. I mean, we get off that bridge. The track's right there, separated by like 2 fences. So we just like stopped, and you see the cars just whizzing by. We're both like, that's when I think it was clicked. Like, holy shit, we are actually here. But like, I still
Yeah.
haven't clicked from the whole entire weekend. But I was like, this is not a dream. we are awake, and we are right here in Miami at the track.
Yep.
Unfortunately, as we were literally crossing the street, Charles Leclerc had to call himself red flag. So
This is, I think, the funniest part of the weekend to me. Is
because
this
we were
moment.
literally walking through, and I was like, "Oh, Charles Leclerc is out of FP1. His car is stopped on the track. There's a red flag." Like, we weren't even in. We were right there, and I didn't even see him in FP1.
We were maybe 50 yards from the entrance, and it was, you had gotten a notification on your phone that said there's a red flag. Charles Leclerc had like spun out and put his car like perpendicular to the track, and I felt bad, but I also was like, I wanted to laugh just because of the irony of it,
because it would be our luck.
but I also was like really scared because I was like, God damn, we're at our first event and we're going to our first like real part of this weekend, and it's red flagged and it might be done. Like,
true, it could have been like a red flag that never continued, like a Vegas situation.
Depending on how bad the damage was to his car or to the track, I was like, this is gonna get shut down, and we're here, And I was like, that's just our luck, like all this stuff. Luckily, Charles' spin out wasn't that bad. It was in a decent area. He was fine. And they were able to clean up his car and get going. And I mean, honestly, thank God it happened, because we had then had the time to get in
and find a viewing spot.
We stopped and like looked around. We were like, okay, this is really fucking cool. And then we found the viewing platforms, and that's where you were saying we were like literally 2 fences separated from the track. And it was when they started going again, and you heard them coming down the straight, that we were. I gotta pull up a map of the track to look to see like where we were, but
it was turn 10, or it was.
Is it turn 10?
It's not the long straight, but it's like barely that turn. But I think it was turn 10 because that's where we came in yesterday. Which you left the physical map in my backpack. Just letting you know.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I won't throw it out.
Yeah, so we were just after turn 10 in sector 2, which was a great spot, I think, for us to get there and see it happening, because that's also one of the DRS zones. So I mean, when we saw the cars fly by, they were fucking hustling.
That's what I was going to say. Like, the rest of the weekend we watched from up above, and yes, they look so fast even from up above, but being like level with the cars, it's hard to explain exactly how fast they go by, because they are, especially because it was like almost a straight and a DRS zone. They were just like
it was whizzing by you, and it was just like,
I mean, blink and you would have missed them.
Yeah, and it's like, I know it sounds like a broken record, and I know people have heard this a million times who haven't been to a race. TV does not do it justice, just how fast these cars are going and how intense it is. And it's like, the fact that we were 30 yards away from them as they were like flying by was just like, I mean, I literally, like, we looked at each other and both of our faces, we were just like, because it was the realization of like, holy shit.
They're right there. It's gonna sound weird, but like, I feel like in that moment it was like, oh, they're real. Like,
they're real.
Yeah. Like, it's not
like it is. And I mean, I said it to you, like, it's so hard. It's so easy to forget that, like, when you're watching it on TV, like, this is a real event that's happening. This is, people are doing this, and there's people inside those cars, and it's like, just seeing them again, just whiz past you. You're like, oh my fucking God. Like,
also, like, seeing the cars in person going by, again, I feel like the TV doesn't do some of them justice. Like we said, the Sauber livery in person, beautiful. Like, that green is so bright. It's not even like it's a lime green. It's just like a very, very bright green. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, that livery is beautiful in person. Aston Martin literally like sparkles in person, I feel like, especially in the
so good in the sunlight.
Yeah, like in the Miami sun, it was shining. I mean, it wasn't a good weekend for them, but yeah, it was shining. What do I want? Oh, the V Carb one looked great in person.
Yeah.
Ferrari one grew on me throughout the weekend. I will say it's so. Shout out to Lando. We'll continue talking about Lando later.
Yep.
Obviously.
Oh yes.
His helmet makes it so easy to pick out him on the track when he is
so
in
easy
his
to
car.
spot. Yeah.
Like his helmet, Fernando's helmet, that might be it. Like because their helmets are such a bright color.
They have the bright yellow on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to tell who they are because when the cars are going by so fast, you can't see the numbers. Like you couldn't even tell. It was hard to tell the difference between the dark blue halo versus the light blue halo for Charles and Carlos. Like because that's how fast they're going by. But yeah, so FP1, we stayed there for the entire time, and then we found some water and stuff, and just started walking around, taking it all in.
That was. I'll kind of jump ahead here because this jumps to the next day, but we met up with Tasia, and we were talking about it, and I know this was a thing last year. I know it was a thing when Miami first started. Like a lot of people who went to the event were talking shit on it. We're saying that it was a very bad event, very bad organized, like all this stuff. And this kind of goes back in touch with what we were talking about with like transportation. It was very, very. It felt very, very organized and very cleanly run from what we saw. You know, I mean, like, you know, the experience. I would say the only experience that we had from like a administrative, I'll call it, or like logistical standpoint was when that first day when we got there, when we filled up the waters, the water was warm. And we were like,
the only time.
We were both like, but both of us were like, okay, warm water is better than no water, especially if you're out here all day. You got to stay hydrated, like all this stuff. But then the second day, now granted, we went into a different entrance, but still that different entrance was littered with all the same stuff that we had at the first entrance that we went to. It was the first aid station. It was the guest experience station. It was the water filling station. Water was cold. Water was great. It was refreshing. They had maps posted everywhere of like where you were going.
The area is so big, but it was easy to navigate. If you just took time and looked at the map, it was easy to figure out. You're like, okay, so we can get to here. We can get to here.
It was like, you know, the bridges that cross the track were very clearly labeled of like, this is the turn 10 bridge. And it was like, it made it so easy because like when we would leave, we would have to cross some bridges. So we'd be like, all right, we're going to go down this way. And then we're going to cross turn 12 bridge or whatever it was. And we walked. And we were like, oh, look, turn 12 bridge. Okay. We went up and we were like, cool. Now we know where to go.
Yeah.
And it's just logistically, it was very it worked really well. And like, we didn't feel a single sense of like, this is a poorly run event. It was extremely well done. I got to give kudos to whoever developed it. Their app was fantastic.
Yeah,
I really liked their app.
Really nice.
Every schedule on there for every event that was happening there. So like, not only did we see F1, we saw F1 Academy, and we saw Porsche Carrera GT3 series racing, which also those cars are fucking loud. Those cars are extremely loud. So like we saw a lot of racing, but like you could open up the schedule and be like, okay, so at 2:00 we have Porsche's racing, and then at 3:00 we have F1 Academy as their second race, and then 4:00 we have the Grand Prix on Sunday. You know, it was like, I don't know if that was that's me paraphrasing, but it was so laid out for you. They had an interactive map that you could look at, so it was like you had your physical maps and you had the maps everywhere, but as long as you downloaded the app, you were good to go. Like
you literally had
everything. Everything you needed in the app.
And I was very shocked to say, this is so technical, how good the cell service was.
Yeah.
How good like internet access on your phone was. Because I was like afraid, I was like, okay, we're not gonna be able to access like the app or like do anything. There's gonna be no internet. No. Like No issue ever whatsoever. That was not the same experience I had at IndyCar. Like literally like my cell was like over, like I couldn't do anything because there was like no cell service. Definitely lots of walking, but
lots of walking. Yes.
After FP1, we like walked around stuff. We got the lay of the land, cut through. We were able to walk through the Porsche Carrera and F1 Academy paddocks, which were really cool.
That was so cool.
So we walked through the Porsche one quickly and stuff, and it's just basically like tents and stuff. The cars were right in there, the teams were right in there, getting everything ready and stuff. And then you turn the corner and you can go back down, and that was the F1 Academy paddock, which was also sick because they had the cars roped off, so you could get extremely close to their cars.
We were 15 feet away from their cars. Yeah. I saw a bunch of team members too, like taking photos with people. Like it seemed like very open and very just like, hey, come on in, hang out with us, and when it was time for them to race, or if they had qualifying or practice, they would seal it off, which is like, yeah, absolutely. But still, if they sealed it off and you were standing right there, you were still maybe 20 feet from the, the drivers and everything. And I mean, it was so cool to see that. Like I said it to you, like we picked an awesome weekend, or not even picked. We really lucked out on like what weekend. Action. Yeah, because we had F1 Academy, we had the Porsche stuff, like I said, but we also had a sprint race, and then we had the regular Grand Prix, and it was like seeing the F1 Academy races, awesome, because like I really just haven't found time to sit down and watch one of their events, and I wanted to watch one of their events from the start to finish.
It was only their second race of the season, so I will.
True. So it was so cool seeing that, but yeah, the paddock. The F1 Academy paddock was so cool to see, and it's just so awesome to see that growing and seeing all the people that were in there and like loving it and taking pictures and all, and it was very, very cool.
I feel like that also helps grow, like helps people get into F1 Academy or into the Porsches and stuff, like having that easy access for people just to walk through and see.
Yeah.
I mean, was it the next day we were walking through and there was like the driver was behind the Academy paddock and warming up? Like,
yes, it was Saturday.
Yeah, they were right there as well. I will say, because it kind of leads into the next point, I was going to say where we watched Friday and Saturday qualifying and stuff. We had like the general mission, or I guess you could say the campus pass. Absolutely worth every single penny.
oh my God, yes.
You have
no complaints.
There was a guy sitting next to us yesterday during the race, and he said he's gotten general admission for Montreal, and he said comparing Miami to Montreal general admission, Montreal sucks because you're in the grass. Yeah. It could be muddy. Like you could be like just sitting in the grass if it's hot, or like it could be raining and then you're sitting in the mud. We basically lived in the Hard Rock Stadium the entire weekend, and then it was the perfect view, so we could go up. And we watched a lot. We watched sprint quality.
Friday and Saturday.
And qualifying from, they call like a helix. It was like a twisty,
turny, just a big spiral structure that you can go up and down through the stadium. Yeah, and there's one on each corner of the stadium.
Yeah, so you could they roped off parts of it so you could watch it along the wall. We picked a perfect spot because it was right at turn 4 and 5.
Yep.
So early on. That was a great spot. We stuck there but we were also close to bathrooms, food. I mean, they had so many things up in Hard Rock that were available for you to use. You could also go in and see the paddock, which is so cool. They don't even know how we didn't talk about this yet. Being able to, obviously you're not on the field where the paddock is with the drivers and stuff with the teams. That's obviously. But being able to just as a normal person to go up into the stadium and basically almost quote unquote look down on the paddock is still so cool because you saw everyone. I mean, we saw Charles, we saw Checo, we saw Yuki, Esteban. Alex, Esteban, just Fred a bunch. Saw the TV presenters just walking around and getting ready, setting up to film and all this stuff. You just could sit there and basically people watch, but you're also they're just right there. They're literally there.
It is such a cool experience because, like you had said, like no other race does this in terms of like giving you kind of access to that area. And like you said, we weren't walking down on the field. It wasn't like we walked in and we're walking past all the hospitality suites, and as we're doing this, Charles Leclerc is walking right by us, or Lando Norris is walking right by us. It's you are up in the stadium. You're in stadium seating, but you're still able. The fact that you can go in and look down and see all this stuff, it did a really good job of making you feel like you were one step closer to the drivers and to the teams. And it was so cool because, like we said, we were sitting there one day, and if you learn to look for the cues, you see, like, you couldn't see all areas. They had entrances and exits that we couldn't see, but all of a sudden this like group of cameras would run over to the entrance, and you'd be like, all right, who's coming? And like the one day we were looking and we were like, oh, who's that? And we're joking around because we're like, oh my God, he's so short. That's Yuki. We were like, that's Yuki. But the fact that you were even like, again, it's just that reminder of like, yes, you watch Drive to Survive. Yes, you watch the races and everything, but like that makes it feel a little bit like larger than life. And seeing these people down there, you're like, oh my God, like this is real. Like people are, driving these cars and doing this and everything. And they're also like, they seemed really friendly. I mean, like when we saw Checo, he was in the ice bath. He was behind their hospitality suite. So he gets out and has to like run, like walk around, just like a very quick corner, but he's visible to everybody, right? And these like group of people to our left immediately start screaming. They're like, Checo, hey, Checo. And he looks up, he smiles, and he waves at them. And then it's like when we saw Esteban walk in, he comes in through the entrance, people start cheering, and he immediately turns around and smiles and like looks at us. And it's like, that is so cool because, again, these drivers, especially if you follow the sport and love the sport, feel so much larger than life that when you have those moments, even if it is just a wave, that it's like, this is so cool. This is awesome. And it's like, you don't get that. Like the fact that we could get that at Miami and the fact that they allow that is
like, we're not awesome. Going to Silverstone and being able to see a driver in that aspect with like a general admission pass. Absolutely. Like, no, you're not going to Monaco and doing that. You can't like almost eavesdrop into the paddock. It's not like you could hear anything. I mean, yesterday I was pissed because Ferrari took a team photo because they were all in blue. Like, if we were in there a little bit earlier, we could have watched the entire Ferrari team take that photo. I mean, we saw Checo, and then we're sitting there seeing Checo, and I look up, and then you see the soccer ball going up and down behind the Ferrari building. I mean, Ferrari's posted before Charles Leclerc warms up with the soccer ball. I looked at Owen, and I said, that's Charles. And we booked it we just went out on the concourse, ran around to the other corner, went in. Mm-hmm. He was already gone. He already went away from kicking a soccer ball around. Sorry. And we just waited there for a few minutes. And next thing you know, you saw like fans rushing towards the Ferrari building. And I was like, oh, he's coming. So I took my phone out, and we got to see him going out right before qualifying. And I was like, okay.
That's it.
I don't have to do anything else.
Casey was good for the weekend. That was it. That's where we left, actually, everybody. We hopped on a plane home. We lied to you. We were home on Saturday and comfortable. And
no, we were not. We will continue to get to that. But so just, I think, like how I said with IndyCar, how accessible, like the accessibility, I almost feel like Miami has a touch of that in different aspects, and being able, especially, I mean, just being able to see the paddock like that because it's such a exclusive area. Like, even like, I mean, it's where obviously the drivers and teams are, but it's where the celebrities are going. Or if you pay like however much money to get those kind of passes, to be able to see that was just cool. It makes it more inclusive for everyone. And honestly, the Hard Rock too, you could sit in the stands. So like if you wanted to take a break and like eat your food, not walking around or standing or sitting on concrete, you just took one of the stadium seats and could sit there. So,
it looked like you could sit. It looked like you could sit anywhere in that upper level that we were.
You couldn't go into the 100 level, but you could sit in the 200 level. But
I mean, there were people scattered everywhere, just across the stadium seating, and it was, hey, I want to see the back of the Ferrari Hospitality Center just in case Charles come out. Like, okay, you can walk to that seat and sit down and get that viewpoint. Yeah, it's definitely the whoever is the organizer of the event, I'll just, call it Hard Rock. Hard Rock does just an awesome job of giving the fans that, like us, had these general admission passes, which you got to say, like, that's most of the people going have these passes, have these campus passes that you don't have, maybe you have grandstands, but like you're still not able to go down to the paddocks. Like, being able to even get an inkling of being in that area was cool. It was awesome to see. It was so much fun. And you're right. It felt even just like a little bit more of just like, oh my God, we're a part of this. We're in there. We're here, and you get to see the whole picture a lot more. And it's just, I mean, like you said, we lived in Hard Rock, essentially. We visited the other areas, like we went to the Promenade, which is where the Miami GP store was and everything. But most of how our days went was we walked in, we said, hey, I want to go to this specific spot to look at this thing or do this or do that. And then we just went up to Hard Rock because it was so kind of well run up there. Yeah. It was just like, it just worked for a great viewing area. You didn't have, this is any sporting event, so I'm not like shitting on the Miami GP here, but like you didn't have porta potties up there. You had Hard Rock's bathrooms, so you're going into like legit bathrooms. You had the food concession stands, you had, water stations, all this stuff, and it was an awesome spot to sit there and pick a side and watch the race from there, essentially.
Well, even like there was stuff like other stuff to do. Like you did the Sims. Like they just had they had a lot you could do in Hard Rock Stadium. And I mean, anywhere you watched in the Hard Rock Stadium was a great view of the track.
Yeah.
Because you were above. So yeah, like I said, we watched from turn 4 and 5 for the girls race on Saturday, and then sprint qualifying.
Yes.
Now we all know Saturday was a good day for me, a bad day for Owen.
Yes.
We kind of went like this. Like Friday was FP1.
It was decent for both of us. Yeah.
Sprint quali was good. I mean, when we thought Lando was getting pole, we were going back and forth. Sprint race comms.
So I want to tell the story too, because this is funny. So obviously I'm wearing my McLaren hat, but I also have my Furious One Red Bull baseball jersey on, so I'm conflicting teams, but anybody who listens to the show knows that my allegiances lie with McLaren. So we're standing there, like we said, our spot for the sprint race, we were standing in one of the helixes, and we were able to see turn 4 right in the turn 5, which is still, we were so excited about, because we were like, this is still so early on in the race that we'll see all 20 cars go flying right by. And, that line, all like...
The race start was so cool because they were so bunched up. Like, it was... Yeah. You saw every single car in the span of 2 seconds, like, at one time. Sorry, good.
And it was... So we start, right? And we're watching, and, part of the thing, too, with watching these things live is you do have the broadcast up on your phone, or, like... Another their app is like a companion to watching it, because you can't see everything, so you need to know, like, if you want to know everything, you gotta.
I feel like there could be bigger screens, more areas, but there wasn't that many. I feel like
but we start, so the race starts, and we're watching and everything, and then I get this text, and it's just Lando, all in caps, and I'm immediately like, what the fuck happened? And Casey has the live timing up on her phone, and she's just watching him drop down the order. And then we come to find out that Lewis had dove into the corner to try and take it over. He had then made contact with Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll had then made contact with Fernando Alonso, who then made contact with Lando Norris. And Lando suffered most of it because he went airborne and then skidded out off the track and
turn 1, lap 1.
Turn 1, lap 1. So we were still so early in the race that I didn't even see Lando for the sprint race. And I was so bummed about it. But again, still being there and everything, I was like, this is so cool. We're still here. Like, all right, fine. And I mean, it was just like, we watched the sprint race, and it was fascinating to see a race live, because it is so different than watching it on TV. And like you said, clear with race weekend structure, all we had seen so far was practice and then qualifying. So seeing race and seeing people battle and go back and forth and overtakes and all this stuff, again, it was a situation where like we watched it and we were like it just awestruck on just like how that we were here and that it was happening and we were seeing a race.
I kind of wasn't happy that Miami was a sprint race weekend, because we would have just seen practice, qualifying, race. We got a little teaser, quote unquote, for the sprint race, so it like we didn't have to wait that long for racing action. And it was, I do think that if it was like a normal race weekend, it would have been so much more surreal if we had to wait until Sunday to see our first race. Oh yeah.
We got it on Saturday, like you said, like a little teaser. So cool. And it was, like I said, I was super bummed about it, but we got to see a race, and then I can't remember like all the like any details, because I was just
it was kind of clean. Yeah, Max won, Charles second.
It was a clean race for the sprint.
I'm looking up the results.
But it was,
Max, Leclerc, Perez. Oh, Danny Rick was fourth.
Right. So that's right. So we're watching this, we're like, oh my God, Danny Rick's in fourth. This is great. We're going back and forth. And we're watching, it was just, I can't find the words to describe seeing a race in person and seeing this in person for the first time. And I mean, like, I'd said it to you when we were walking up. Walking up to first practice, it was like, okay, you've gone the IndyCar. So it's like, you've had the experience of, and I know this isn't really like a comparison, but like you've had at least the experience of like going to a race, seeing what that kind of environment is like and everything, and being present for one of these things. Now, it was both of our first F1 race. So like that was on a totally different level. But the fact that, to me, like, this is something that I've fallen in love with over the past 2 years. And now I'm getting my first motorsport experience. And it's also an F1 experience. That is why I'm struggling so much, just to be like, I don't know how to describe how cool it was to me and how fulfilling it was to be there. Like, it was just like, this is everything that we've talked about for the past year, and everything that we've studied and everything that we've loved and have learned about for the past year, just kind of like coming to fruition of just being like, okay, now it's almost like we're legit. Like it feels, I feel like vindicated for being a fan now. Cause it's like, I've gone from being a fan that's like, oh, I've started watching on Drive to Survive, maybe one day I'll get to a race, all this stuff. And it's like, no, I've been to a race. I watch it makes you feel so, it legitimately made me feel like complete for that weekend. Because it was just like, I'm here. We're here. Like, we're in this,
And that's what's just like, if I already loved it, but if after this weekend, I literally love it more. If that makes any sense. But like,
I have a point to talk about like that later when we talk more about Lando.
Yeah. Lando. But
yeah, so Saturday.
Wait.
Sorry.
No, because I was going to read. So this is during Friday. I think right before sprint quali, we're waiting for food, and I get Tasia, or F1 Femme, sends a text saying, "Are you just absolutely living?" I said yes. We just keep looking at each other, saying that we can't believe we're here. And she was like, "Motorsport's truly magical." She was so happy for us. I just said hearing the Indy cars was one thing.
Yeah.
But hearing and like, that was obviously insane, because it was my first taste of seeing a live motorsport event. But hearing and seeing the F1 cars, and like you said, it's something that we've been watching on TV for the past 2 years, was even more surreal of a moment. Like, it was just it it's gonna sound cheesy. It felt like a dream come true because it felt like we said,
Well,
we
that's
never
it,
had
yeah.
any plans of going to any kind of race. This just
Nope.
fell into our laps. Like, I mean, she responded. She said core memories. I was like, yes, this entire weekend, yeah, core
Yeah.
memories. But yeah, it was. Yeah, no. Just seeing the sprint race and stuff and qualifying and everything, which qualifying is more stressful watching in person.
Oh my god, it's literally. I don't even know. Hold on, let me write that down for an. Oh my god.
We probably already have at least 10. We just haven't written them down.
So you get you know, obviously you're watching in person, you're watching on TV, you have all this data available to you that when you see a car, you're like, I know exactly who that is. You know, you got Crofty telling you, you know, all this stuff. But when you're watching in person, there is an element of like, who's that? You know, who are we looking at? You know,
Yeah,
and
we had the live timing.
Lando. Yeah, and you start to piece it together. You know, we would see a lap completed for sprint, and then we would see the car come past turn 4 and be like, okay, so that's so and so, you know. And you start to learn, you start to pick it up and everything. And there's also the yellow bar on the top of the car. So like we started to pick up that. We would say to each other, like, okay, Lando has a yellow bar, Oscar does not. So then it was, we were saying that to each other. So then we could identify like who's who and whatnot. And seeing, and I'll speak on from watching Lando, and then you can talk on watching, you know, Charles during qualifying too. But when he would come around turn 4 into turn 5, and you just knew that he was on a flying lap because of how much speed that he was carrying. Like, you know, you could tell you were like, I get this way when the timer pops up on the screen, you know, when they're doing their flying laps, you know, you just like, you stand up a little straighter, you know, you're kind of just like, okay. And then you're watching the live timing. You're like, where is he? I mean, like, how many times on Lando's flying laps would I look at you and be like, where's he at? What's his time? What, you know, how was he in sector 2? Like all this stuff. And it's just so, it just being there in person, like as dorky as it sounds, like when you would see him come by and like, I would say to myself, like, all right, come on, Lando. Like it felt more real on like cheering him on. And it was just like, do it. Like, let me see it in person. Let me see you nail a fastest lap time in person. And it was just like watching them do that was just, it was, and you would just know, like I said, like, you know, they would come in, they would do an out lap and they would go slow and then they do a flying lap and you knew instantly they were doing flying lap. Yeah. And it was just like, you were like, you know, fucking go. Like, like go. That's all I can say. It's just like, do it, get it. Like it was just so surreal seeing Lando fly by. And I mean, like I said, I'm sure it was the same for you seeing Charles fucking zoom by. And
especially during sprint quali because I didn't get to see him during FP1. Like by the time we got there, he was done. I was on the plane today. One of my videos is him coming for his first lap during sprint quali, and you hear me, here he comes, and then you hear me go, yeah, there he is. Because like, I mean, obviously, yeah, everyone knows he's my favorite. Like, that's my favorite driver. So like, that was my moment. I was like, he's on the track, and then had a killer weekend the rest of the weekend. So like, it was. We should add surreal to that list, but like,
good word.
It's hard to put into words. It's exactly like how, like you said, the minute they came around that corner, you knew they were on that flying lap. You just knew they were going for it. I mean, even turn 4 and 5, a few times we saw it first with the girls in the academy, but like turn 4 and 5, some of the cars would go around and lose the rear a little bit in the in the corner. So we were both like, I mean, we saw, I think it was an Aston Martin that ran off at one point.
Yeah, we did see it was an Aston Martin. We just never really identified like who it was.
But yeah, I mean, like you saw them wiggle a little bit and everything, but I mean, I went on live on Instagram, so we did the formation lap, and seeing the formation lap is still cool because they all come pretty close. But being that close to the starting of the race, so seeing the first lap, like Max isn't 30 seconds ahead yet. Like they're all close together. So seeing all that, especially the girls, because their cars are so much smaller, they can easily be side by side going through those turns. So
those turns you could do easily like 3 wide for the girls.
Yeah, but like that's just, I feel like I love I love a race start, watching it on the broadcast, but seeing that in person was also sick. Was there anything else from Saturday? I'm trying to think. What else
No,
on Saturday?
I mean the only thing that I want to talk about is
driving in Saturday. Well, I did.
We
You
did
were
see,
looking at
we
the
did see
driver.
yeah. So it's funny. So this is kind of like a little bit of a story, but Saturday we were lucky enough that we could borrow family member's car and we were able to get parking. So Saturday, this was Saturday and Sunday, we were able to drive down there and park in a lot. But what was cool about that is we had like a mile walk to the stadium, which like wasn't hard to do at all. Like it was kind of nice.
We were definitely on the adrenaline high, so we really didn't notice.
Yeah. Saturday, we're walking, and all of a sudden you hear some police sirens, and we're both kind of like, we perk up, and we're like, who is that? Because we know that, any driver, any prominent team member is getting a police escort to the stadium, wherever they pull in and whatnot. And, I have another story after this too. And we turn and we look and we see this black Mercedes coming, like SUV coming down. And I'm stupidly like, you're like, who is it? I'm staring at it and I'm staring at the driver and it's some Joe Schmo. Like, I'm like, no, that's fucking nobody. Like, and you turn around, you're like, that was Toto. And I was like, no, it wasn't. And you were like, yeah, I recognized the hair. And I was like, you were like, he was in the passenger seat. And I was like, I was staring at the fucking driver's. Like, so it was just Toto. It was, again, it's just like that level of like kind of closeness, I feel like is the best word to describe it, of just like it's kind of the same thing of like any celebrity. It's like I'm in the same spot as people right now. Like I'm here watching what they do in the same area. And it's just kind of that thrilling piece of just like, I'm here, they're also here. Like, it's like, this is really cool.
Like we go to sporting events and stuff. Obviously, we go to Philadelphia sporting events like Phillies games, Flyers games. I definitely don't get the same rush, but maybe because I've been to them before, like I'm used to it.
Yeah, we might be desensitized to that.
Yeah, but I think just because F1's on such a global scale, like, and
that's a great way to put it. Yeah,
they're such on a global scale. It never felt attainable to even be that close to. Them. So just being that close to them was undescribable. But yeah, so we saw Toto.
Another thing,
some Ferraris.
You just ruined my story. So obviously Charles and Carlos had their custom Ferraris, and we were like, let's find them. Like, let's see if we can see them anywhere. Yeah. Like, they're fucking blue Ferraris, light blue and a dark blue Ferrari. They're not going to be that hard to spot. And there was one time we were in Hard Rock and I went to the bathroom and I come out of the bathroom and I don't know what made me do it, but I like saw a huge gap on the wall where we were standing at the time on the Helix. Like you were pretty like shoulder to shoulder with people, watching it. And so I'm like, oh, this area is wide open. Let me see if this is a good view of the track. Like might be a spot that we can stand and not be with people. And I walk over and there's no view of the track. I'm like, oh, whatever. Like, okay. And I like if this is the wall, like I'm standing here, like I'm looking this way to the track, and then I don't know why, I just immediately go look down, and there's a parking lot, and I'm just like, there's the Ferraris, like
right there,
and I'm just like, so I quickly zoom in, I take a picture, and I'm like, I walk back to you, and I'm like, hey, look what I found. You're like, oh my god, and it's just, again, it's a thing of like, that's the type of thing. It's like you see that on Instagram. Of like Ferrari taking the video of like Charles getting out of his car and like, going in. And then it's like, you don't feel like that's real because it feels stupid to be like, oh, they have to drive and park, like they got to do the same shit that we do. And it's like, and then you see the cars and you're like, oh my gosh, like there they are. And it's like, that's the thing. We went on Sunday with the time that we were there and the time that the race was, we had the idea. We were like, oh my God, we could go to that spot. Now that we know they park, we could go to that spot, and if they're not there, we could park. We could just like post stuff there on that wall and see when they come in. Now, they were already there and everything, but we were just like, oh my god, like it's another just thing of being like I'm in this same place as them. I'm seeing them in real life. Like it was just, it was fucking awesome, and it was just like. I genuinely, again, I don't know how to describe it. Of just like we were there. Like, we would, like, what?
No.
And it's just, ugh.
No. I can't. We haven't even got to the good part of the story yet, and I feel like we're arriving to race day. But I do want to say before we get to the race day, before we get to hearing about Owen and how he almost passed out, the one bone we have to pick with F1 races in person, the stupid merch prices.
Oh my God.
It's disgusting. People don't buy merch from at the race. I'm sorry, don't.
Yeah. Now,
Owen
this was, put a little disclaimer here too. This was the F1 store. It wasn't the Miami GP store. It was the F1 pop-up store. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the F1 merch, they have all the hats, they have clothing and stuff for each team. I was like, I want a Lando polo. Like they look really nice. It's like that the dry fit material.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, we can go. We pass one on our way out, so we'll go. We go in $155 for a polo.
A fucking t-shirt.
I said, if that's not coming signed, I don't want it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was saying to you, I was like, I'm 100% buying one. Like, I was a little on the fence, but the more that I saw them in person and saw people wearing them, I was like, my literally only like 3 pieces of F1 gear are like this hat, my McLaren sweatshirt that you got me, and then the Red Bull jersey, which you also got me. But still, I was like, I won a shirt. And the more I saw them, I was like, I'm 100% getting it. Like, I need to do it. It looks so good. I really like it. I can wear it when I golf. I can wear it tomorrow, wear it race day, whatever. Right. And I'm like, we walked in and you literally said to me, you're like, I'm not letting you buy that because it's so expensive. And it was that genuinely, I think you're right. That's the only bone really. Yeah.
The one bone I have to pick.
And it was like prices like that were for everything. I mean, it was like $90 for a hat. And it's like,
and then you go in and it's 50, 45. Like,
yeah. What? And it's like, even that, like, is like, okay, I'm paying $50 for a bucket hat. And it's like, all right, fine. Like, that's a little too much. But like, that's reasonable in the sense of like, I know where I'm at and I know that things are going to be upcharged a little bit. Like, I'm aware that it's going to be more expensive to buy it there. But
yeah.
Not $155 for a polo or like $235 for a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
Like,
it was
it's way too much. Yeah.
It was insane. Yeah, that's definitely the one bone to pick. Also, before we get into race day, we have to give him a shout out because we finally got to meet him physically in person after he's been on our show 3 times. He's been literally a supporter since episode 1, day 1. Everyone on the thread saw the pictures. We got to meet up with Mark twice, which was absolutely like probably a highlight of the entire trip because it was so cool being able to, like I said, he's been on the show 3 times. We didn't have to like talk to him through a computer screen. Like, I mean, and it was his first time working and going to a race. It was so cool, just like hearing what his experience was like, getting to like talk to the drivers and what he was working on. It was so cool getting to meet up with him and stuff. So yeah, that was definitely a highlight of the trip.
Absolutely. We were so happy to meet him. And I mean, like, I was even like a little nervous when we were like texting him the first day and we were like, where are you? Like, we can meet up, like all this stuff. And I was like a little nervous. I'm like, we've only ever talked to him through a computer screen. And it's like, first of all, great conversations. Like, anybody who's listened to those episodes, like, I personally think those are some of our best episodes. Like,
yeah.
Like, and so meeting him, I knew it was going to be an easy conversation because Mark is such a good conversationalist and like, we'll talk to you and like engage and everything. And it was so much fun talking to him, but still I was like, we're meeting, like, I had like a little bit of like jitters meeting him for the first time, but I thought it was funny that we were meeting him for the first time. And then we walk away and we're both like, oh, shit, we didn't get a picture with him. We didn't get a picture with him. So we texted him
like picture it didn't happen.
Yeah. So
it
was so much fun meeting him, and he like you said, he's telling us about all the stuff that he can get into, and he's doing, because of the press and whatnot and everything, and he's telling us stories, and I don't want to get him in trouble, so like I'm not going to tell him any stories really that he told us, but some of the stories that he told us just from a press standpoint of the meetings that he was going to or the access that he had.
It was just cool to hear his side of what the weekend was like. It
was very cool.
Yeah, no, it was cool to hear his side and stuff. To hear from like someone working in it and stuff. That's what, yeah, no, it was really, really cool to see that. Or to hear all of that. But yes.
Yeah. That definitely was a highlight. Something I did this is not like a big story, but you mentioned earlier, I got to do simulators.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't like I got to do the simulators at the Red Bull event. If anybody's seen it like on our socials, I did the simulators at a Red Bull event, but that was the same thing that I have here at my home. You know, literally was the same wheel that I use and everything. The simulators there though were from it was for like an esports team. So they had the full setup. I mean, they had the simulators that were the front of it was covered by like what looked like a nose of a car. Yeah. The wheel was what you see, like, what drivers use and everything. It was so cool. It was such a unique experience in driving that. Like I said, I know it's very similar to what I did in DC, but I loved it and it was awesome to see. And I mean, like I did it twice. And the first time I did it, not the best. I was kind of just getting used to it and whatnot. And I wasn't shifting. And I I don't really, when I play personally, I don't really shift. I want to get into it more, and learn how to get better at the game and everything. But the second day I did it, I was like, okay, I have a feeling of this. I know what it's like. I'm going to shift. I'm going to try it. And I'm clicking those things up and down. And it's heavy to pull those things. I mean, like my hands, like my lower three fingers, essentially like I would grip the wheel. And then instead of holding it like this, I essentially just let my bottom three fingers float. And that's what I used to shift. I mean, like my fingers were hurting after I was done. Like I was like, this is like sore. Like my fingers got like a workout trying to shift. And it was just such a cool experience. Like I said, I love playing video games. I love playing F1 when I can. So it was very cool. And I love that was there.
Yeah, it's an option.
It was very, very cool. The one thing I also wanted to do, we didn't really talk about this, the Pirelli hot laps.
Oh yeah, Owen wanted to drop all the money he owed.
I would have spent my life savings on doing a hot lap there in a McLaren, and it was such a tease because like right outside of the Hard Rock where the escalator that we went up was the group of the cars for all the hot laps. They had 2 McLarens, they had two or three Ferraris, a couple of Mercedes, a couple of Aston Martins that were safety cars, all this stuff. And I literally, you were right next to me when I did it. I walked right up to one of the guys that was like guarding one of the entrances, and I was like, "Hey, how do we get into this? Like, how can I do this?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's private." And I was like, "Oh, cool, no worries." And I walked away, and I was like, "God, what I would have given to get tossed around in a McLaren around this lap." Like,
that's so funny.
Even if they were like, "Hey, we're gonna stick you in the Aston Martin SUV safety car," I would have been like, "Cool, do it." Like, absolutely, just to be able to like be on the track, be in that sort of setting. Like, I was like, I would have loved this. But we did get to see a couple hot laps go around. Yeah. I'm 90-ish% sure that we didn't actually see them do it, but Lewis Hamilton took Kendall Jenner around on a hot lap. And the car that they were in, it was a Mercedes SLS. I remember seeing that car on the track, and it was like the only time that I saw it on the track. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe that was when it had to have been them when they were in it. And it makes sense too, because the windows were fucking like tinted out. So like you couldn't see into the car whatsoever. So I was like, oh, all right. Like maybe it was them, but it just looked like so much fun, like being on the track. Yeah, I was definitely jealous of the people that got to do that. Even the people on race day who got to be a part of the truck tour.
Those are cool.
Flatbed trucks that kind of they the drivers were on for the drivers parade, but there was like 3 or 4 trucks of those ahead of them with multiple people on it, just driving on the track and seeing everything from kind of seeing the whole venue from like the track perspective. I think would have been so cool. Yeah, would have been so different than what we were seeing it as.
But yeah,
but it's race day.
Race day. For East Day, Owen and I got there super early, and thank God we did because we got a great spot.
Yeah.
So we then
we
changed our spot we moved down a little bit in the Hard Rock, and we got to sit at turn 14. 14?
No, it 15? Was turn
18.
Turn 18 and 19.
Yeah, so it was like right off the long straight. Then turn 18, and then they would either go into the pit or go and cross the finish line. So we were right there, which was sick because we got to see them.
We had the view right at the beginning of the pit lane. Like we literally saw where it split off from the main track. That's what our view was.
Yeah. So start off great morning. We watched the girls race. Got to see Bianca get P2. Abby pulling Alpine's number one driver. I don't make the rules, but she's Alpine's number one driver.
She 100% is.
Take first in both races. It was cool to see Chloe Chambers get third in the first race of the weekend. It was really cool. Yeah, big win for Haas. Is actually like the coolest thing that she's the first Haas F1 team podium in team history. So that was cool to see and stuff. But so we sat at turn 18. We sat there literally the entire day. Watched the Academy race
really early there.
Really early. But we got to see the Red Bull parachute comes in. We got to see the drivers parade. And then we got what else did we see? The drivers parade? No, that was it. So they come around for like their warm-up laps. And this is going to sound so stupid. I never realized how many warm-up laps they do. I always thought they just do like one or two. They do a few, which obviously makes sense. But then the race build-up's coming. We heard the national anthem, I think. Yes, we did hear the national anthem.
We did hear that. It was very low, but we heard it.
Yeah, and then right before the race started, I turned to you and I said, I think we're going to be able to hear all the cars start because we were right at the finish line. We just couldn't see at the finish line, but we were right there. So I was like, I think we're close enough that when all 20 cars turn on, we're going to hear all 20 cars. And we did. We looked at each other. It was so cool.
It was literally just like this symphony of engines just firing on. And I mean, with how powerful those cars, they're so loud. And it was just like you said, we both turned to each other because I think both of us had that, like we were in awe because we were hearing it again, but also we were like, I think the chills kind of set in of holy
it's
shit, this is real. We're here for race day. Like this is happening. We're 5 minutes from race start.
So the race goes around. We see everything, and we happen to be like, wouldn't it be cool? Like, if we could see an overtake, that'd be great. We didn't see one during the sprint race in front of us. We didn't really obviously they don't overtake during quali and practice. So like, that'd be cool if we could see an overtake. Who do we see doing an overtake? Oscar on Charles. Literally, the overtake was directly in front of us.
2 laps in, and I remember
you slapped me.
You were looking at your phone because I think you were looking at the gap between Charles and Max. I think you were looking at.
No, I was looking at Charles and Oscar because I knew Oscar was gaining.
You were so you were looking at them, and I, like you said, we saw maybe the last half of that back straight that they fucking just cooked down. I mean, they fly down that thing, and that's the other thing too. That seeing it happen in person is how much speed they gain, and hearing them shift up, and then the instant that it takes them to brake, shift all the way back down, especially for that corner, because I mean they're going back down to second gear.
That was a slow corner.
Yeah, crazy just to see them instantly just decrease in so much speed, take that corner and go. I saw Charles and Oscar come flying down. You're looking at your phone. And I just see it was mad. It was so magical to watch it because you see Oscar move over and he took the inside corner. He took the inside line. And I'm just because he just goes and he gets around them. And then, we were able to see the best part about it too is we're then able to see them come around that corner. Like we said, go back around to the start line and you see him come around before Charles. And it's just so amazing to see that happen in person. And it's this is literally it's just this is everything I ever wanted from this weekend. It was just I want to see some awesome racing, some great racing, and I want to see somebody overtake somebody. And it was just with how early that happened,
It was so early. I didn't even
was
care
lap
that Charles
2.
lost a place because it literally was right in front of
It was lap 2, and I was just like again, speechless of just
check that off the list.
yeah, and it is like I said, it added to the effect of like we had such an amazing weekend. We got to see so many cool races and so many cool things that like it
And
literally
history.
like in terms of watching a F1 race, like we got everything we wanted to see out of it. Like,
yeah, you did.
yeah, we're not gonna go into that yet.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, but seeing an overtake, seeing all the cars fly down a straight, seeing slow corner and the concierto effect of them bunching up, like just completely amazing. And I don't know how else to describe it other than just like in that moment as an F1 fan, I was complete. Like I was just like, and this is even before everything happened with the safety car. And
we'll get there.
Like
I think we also
before all of that.
We also need to talk about before we'll get into that next. So this episode isn't 3 hours long, but
We're doing pretty good on time.
I know the TV does not do justice, and I've seen the videos of people that go to races before, and I'm like, that's wild to think about. The gaps.
Yeah.
The gaps.
Oh yes.
Insane. It feels like the longest, like however many seconds, 7. I mean, it was like 7 at 1.5. Like.
I think it's also
so long.
I think it's seeing the actual distance between the cars too. Like yes, we've seen the videos before of like when Max is leading by like 30 seconds. And you see the videos that are kind of just like somebody's holding their phone completely still and you see Max go by and then 30 seconds later you see, Checo go by or somebody like that, But seeing the actual distances between the cars and everything when you're keeping in mind like a gap like that, it just adds so much more like of you're like, oh my God, like he's like really far ahead of like he is like even like a 4-second gap. You're like, oh my God, like he is almost like miles ahead of him. Like not literally, but like it's what it just feels like. You're just like, he's so far off of the guy behind him that it's just like how many times did we see them come down that straight and we were just like in anticipation of waiting on the next car. We were just like,
literally at Lando by the end, he would be going into the turn and like halfway through the turn and there was Max coming down the straight.
Yeah.
Like it does not do it justice on the TV screen. Seeing the gaps, it does not. I might have like 12,000 videos of just getting the gaps because it's wild to think about. Just it makes it seem like 7 seconds is a very, very long time.
That's the thing. Like in this world, like it is like an eternity, 7 seconds. But like you think about that, and you're like, okay, it's taking me 7 seconds to say this sentence, but it's like the amount of speed and force that they carry. It's just like, again, it's just like that guy is miles off of the person behind him. Like, he is so far back, and it's like, holy, like it put it into a new perspective of just like, and it also I think puts it into a new perspective of like, if we did see a race where Max was 30 seconds ahead of everybody else,
well, we did it.
like it would just be like, I don't think there would be like. Every time we saw Lando ahead of Max, especially towards the end of the race, like we were just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. But like, if we did see a race with Max winning 30 seconds ahead, like I don't think we would have been able to put it in the words of just how wild that gap would be. And it's just
even said I was like, I wouldn't like. I went thinking like Max was going to win by 30 seconds. So I was like, it'll be cool to see how many cars he laps. Like, obviously he didn't, but it was the gaps are wild to just take in person. But yes, the safety car where Owen's heart rate started skyrocketing.
I lost my mind during the safety car.
Started pacing. We weren't allowed to say it. No one was saying it.
Nobody was saying it.
No one was saying what was maybe going to happen. Yeah, safety car goes in. Unfortunately, Was it Hulkenberg that took out
It
Logan?
No, so it was what caused the safety car. If anybody's listening to this for some reason hasn't watched the race yet or doesn't know why, Kevin Magnussen took out clipped Logan Sargent.
Almost a minute of penalty time.
Yeah, he clipped Logan Sargent and very upsettingly knocked Logan Sargent out of the race. It wasn't anything Logan Sargent could really do. He was ahead of Magnussen. Magnussen was trying to overtake him. And the wheels just clipped. You'll see it if you watch a video, and Logan just goes flying, and it's really upsetting. Like I said, there's nothing Logan could have done, and it's like if that's the way his season ends, I'm going to be very upset for him. Especially because it happened on his home GP.
Yeah.
But safety car comes out, right? And like normal standard procedure, there's a virtual safety car first. And same thing that happened in Shanghai. Lando crosses the pit lane, like still on track, and virtual safety car comes out.
Yeah.
And then safety car comes out. And he's already up to like 26, 27 laps on medium tires. And it's like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you need to pit. And I'm sure he was probably cursing in his helmet because he just missed the pit lane, and then the safety car comes out. And I'm watching that lap, and I'm just watching him on the map go around, and I'm like, get to the pit, get to the pit, get to the pit before this safety car goes in, please. Please get to the pit.
And he did.
He does. He gets in. It's a great stop for McLaren. It's a clean stop. That's the thing. I can imagine how I would have felt if it was a messy stop, and it took him,
awful.
Even 3.5 seconds to get out. Oh my God. He got in, he got out. It was great. He gets out. And then it was a little confusing because he was ahead of the safety car. And then I think the safety car slowed down and let the rest of the field pass him or pass the safety car, because then Lando caught up to the safety car, and then it was everybody. It looked like your normal safety car, concierge effect where everybody's bunched up. And by this point too, we had also gotten text from Mark with
just the eyeball emoji
with the emojis, because the scene that was set was it was lap 35 when this happened, 30-ish, somewhere in that setting. Lando had just put on a set of hards. Yeah. And Max had put on a set of hards 6 laps earlier. So everybody, and I mean, you're reading Chris Medlin tweets. It's pretty much like this is Lando's race to lose. He's in the prime setting now of he's got a 6 tire age lead on Max, but he also has the safety car where Max is now a half a second behind him. Or at most a half a second behind him. And that's the gap. And it's I'm sitting there, I'm texting Mark back and forth, and I'm like, don't fucking say it. Don't say it.
Started pacing. You couldn't stand still. I was I think
my heart rate was
not breathing.
I literally checked my heart rate on the watch. It was a 104. And I'm getting a text from Nick, and all he texts me is, yo. And I immediately answer, I'm like, don't you fucking say a word. And he's like, I'm not saying shit. And I'm like, don't even think it, right?
Wait, can we also say how you wore no McLaren merch? Because I told you mixed teams the day before, and it was an awful day for McLaren because you qualified bad, was out of the sprint. You were so pissed on Saturday.
I was Sunday, so upset with him. Yeah.
Saturday, Owen went and bought the Miami GP black bucket hat. That's all he wore. He had no F1 merch on. Yeah.
I am. Yeah. I legit, literally now, I will never, making this decree here, if anybody's making it this far in the episode too, I will never wear McLaren gear during a race again. And I don't care if Imola happens and it's set up for him to win and I'm not wearing gear and he doesn't win. I'm never wearing McLaren gear again during a race. And yeah, I mean,
well, okay, wait.
Could not stand still.
The safety car comes in, it ends, and Lando does not let up the entire time. He just keeps building that gap more and more and more and more. And shout out to the F1 app, because I've looked at live time before, but I've never used it to its fullest. So we had the open where you could have two drivers so you could see the gap. We just kept saying their gap. And at one point I was like, oh, and he's at 7 seconds. And you were like, I know. Like, yeah, I know.
I mean, I was reporting it to you like I was reporting it to other people in like half-second increments. Like I literally was like 0.5. Okay, 1 second. Okay, 1.5. Okay, 2. Okay, 2.5. Okay. And I was like, and I'm texting Nick back and forth, and I'm like, the gap is getting bigger.
Yeah, that's when then Mark started texting us like, wait, what is happening?
He's like, oh my God. And then, of course, there's the battle with Oscar and Carlos happening. And I'm not even focused on the rest of the field. Like, I'm not even thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And then you show me the tweet where Oscar, radio goes over for Oscar, and McLaren's telling Oscar pretty much like, hey, Lando's on pole. We do not want a safety car.
I think he wasn't battling Carlos at that point, because that was when he had to go in and get a new front wing, and he was back basically at the back. I mean, he ended up finishing P13, which is absolutely insane for his race. He had a great race also, but yeah, I forget who he's battling, but he was racing hard, I think, Oscar. Yeah. And they came over the radio and they were like, listen, this is ours. Lando, like, don't call it a safety car, please. And I think Oscar calmed down.
Yeah, pretty much basically like, don't fuck this up for Lando.
Like, race smart.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, we're going back and forth. Like, again, I'm not standing still. I'm like freaking out. And it's going through my head. And I'm like, what are the chances that this happened? This is our first Grand Prix that we're going to be at. And I'm about to witness Lando Norris's first win.
Well, and as the gap kept getting bigger and bigger and the laps were getting down, like at 10 laps to go, I was like, oh, no. I was like, this is happening. Like,
this is happening. Yeah.
This is happening.
But we refused. Like, I was thinking the same thing.
But never said it. I couldn't say it.
Refusing to say it. And then, of course, there's something happens with, I forget who he was fighting, but Alexander Albon.
Yeah, he goes off.
He like locks up, or there's contact made. We had a screen available to watch it, but it was very far off in the distance. So like it was to the point where like you could recognize the cars, but you couldn't realize couldn't see who it was or like really in detail what happened. And I mean, we're sitting there and I see Alex lock up and go deep into like turn 11 or something like that.
Yeah, it was turn 11.
And I'm like, immediately, I'm just like, that's it. I'm like throwing my hands up. I'm like, that's game, whatever. Thank God
Alex turned it around.
He was able to turn it around and put it back on the track, because then it was not even a yellow flag. Like I don't remember seeing that pop up. Like
he was able to get back on the track a little bit,
and he gets right back on, and we're still racing. And again, I'm just telling you, I'm literally like, oh, okay, 4-5, okay 5, okay 5-5, okay 6, okay 6-5, and I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking happening. Like this is fucking happening. And we had said to each other before the race started, we were like, all right, if Max is winning by like 30 seconds, maybe we'll leave at like lap 50 or something, just to get down and see a good spot for the podium. Just because like, okay, yes, we're watching Max, but we also want to see the podium. And we say to each other, it's funny because like you could tell that both of us were like not saying it, because we were like, hey, if this happens, we're like, I was like, I want to see him come around and into his last lap, and then also the cool down lap of him come around waving at everybody. And you're like, no, I want to as well. And I mean, he comes around for that. He comes around for that last lap.
It was like lap 56. The crowd was already screaming for him.
Cheering. And I mean, it's just like, and that's where I think lap like 56, I think is like where it set in. When he started that last lap, I think I finally allowed myself to be like, this is fucking happening. Like he is winning his first race, and we're here to see it. And it's like he goes back around, and then you see him come down that straight on lap 57 out of 57, and I'm immediately just like, oh my God, like this is fucking happening. Like, yeah. And he crosses the line, and then of course, we're cracking up because then he's doing his cool down lap, and he's waving at everybody. And he is going so slow. He's soaking it all in. I mean, like, I think
for him to get around.
I genuinely think like 7 or 8 cars passed him as he was doing this cool down lap. Because I mean, we saw everybody. We saw Max. We saw Charles. We saw Carlos. We saw Alonso. Like everybody come by him before we saw Lando come around to do his victory lap. And hearing his radio come over on the speakers and hearing
Yes,
him
that
scream.
was so cool.
So then we were like, all right, go. Like, he did his victory lap. We were like, go. Like, we weren't running, but we were walking, and we got a decent spot. We got a great spot to see the podium. And just seeing him up there and this is what I was going to touch on, of just like we've been watching the sport for 2 years now. We love it. Like, seeing it in person made you fall in love with it more. But seeing my favorite driver achieve everything that he's wanted now for the past, he's been he's been in the league 6 years now, 5 years.
Yeah, 2019.
Like, seeing him achieve everything that he's wanted now for the past 5 years and being there to see it, like, I literally was like, it
was the best possible outcome you could have ever.
This sport. Yeah, like I'm falling so much more in love with the sport than I ever thought possible, and it's just because this is happening in front of my eyes. And it's like, we watched the podium, we're going around, and then we're seeing all the drivers coming around and like congratulating him. I mean, literally the champagne at the end. Charles and Max, who are flanking Lando on both of his sides, they get the champagne and pop it, and immediately are just blasting Lando
right in his face.
And it's so cool to see when you see something like that, because, and I mean, like, they talk about it in interviews all the time, because it's like, all the drivers respect each other. They all love each other. They're all friendly with each other. Like, sure, when they get on the track, they're like, well, I want to beat you. I want to beat you. Like, all this stuff. I want to beat all of you. But the fact that all the drivers were just so genuinely happy for Lando, and it also felt like everybody watching the race was so genuinely happy for Lando. I mean, we heard Lando chants as we were walking out.
Yeah,
people were like, Lando. Like, it was like the whole, I think everybody in that area, in that, podium area and on that race grounds knew they were watching history.
Mm-hmm.
We're just like, this is so, like, everybody just bought into, like, this is fucking awesome. Like, and it's just,
but being able to, like, I was like, okay, maybe we'll see the podium, like, because we ended up staying until he came around for his victory, like his cool down lap and stuff. So, but we had a good spot. Like, I mean, that video I took is good. Like, it's perfect. You get the perfect picture of all of them up there on that podium, sharing the top step to take their photo at the end. Seeing the podium just made it that much better. Just like seeing that, like, once again, like, they're, like I said earlier, it's such a global scale of a sport, but just seeing them up there in person, taking in the Lando's, like, podium. I mean, you could see him literally beaming from how far back we were. Like,
when they also were playing the British national anthem, and there's like the big screen behind them with everything, and they zoom in on Lando's face, and he's just like beaming, and he just like looks up, and he's just, like, in relief that this is finally happening and everything. I was like, it just like reminded me as well of like being an athlete, of just like attaining a goal that you've been going after, regardless of what level it is. Like, if you set a personal goal for yourself and you hit that moment when you finally get it, it's such a good feeling. And it's just like, I just can't imagine being on that scale and finally being the guy that everybody is like, Lando's a future world champion. Like, he's such a good racer, like all the stuff. Like, he deserves every bit of this. Like, seeing him finally obtain that moment is just like, again, like, there's that video of me, like, I'm just like staring, and I'm just like, oh my God.
It's just the fact that we got to witness it. Like, we were totally going in accepting the fact that Max was going to win. Like, by 30 seconds. Like, we totally were ready for it. Like, but we still wouldn't have cared. It was just the fact that at one point we both, I think when he crossed the finish line, I was like, wait, we just watched Lando get his first
We just watched
win.
that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, like, that was not what I wanted to, like, that was not anything I was ready to see or expecting to see, like, at all. Like, it was, and then just being able, like I just said it earlier, being able to see the podium, I think was just like the cherry on top, because like
it was the perfect finish on it, like an amazing weekend. Like, I cannot still wrap my head around it. And like you said, the fact that we both went in there, and I'll say this: the entire crowd that was there probably went in with the idea that we're gonna watch Max win, but at least we're here, to see something, like all this stuff. The fact that we got to watch Lando's win, and also genuinely also a good race. I mean, you and I both said it. Best race of the season so far. Like,
yeah.
Season, and a very strong contender, unless something, God knows what happens next. Of if anything as magical can happen, like probably the best race of the season. Like after everything is said and done, like definitely by far best race, but very strong contender for like if anybody's going to talk about a race from this season, it's going to be Miami. Like,
yeah. That's going to be I mean, you've already said it. That's going to be a race you go back and watch like over and over again because it was so good. I just think getting to see a non-Max win is cool because they don't come that often, but getting to see Lando's first win was more than we could have asked for.
There's so many layers for our personal experience of this, of just like, okay, bottom layer is, oh my God, we're here. Okay, then, second layer is, oh my God, we're, again, kind of almost again, like we're here, we're watching this happen, and then it was, oh my God, we got to see a non-Max win. And then top layer is, oh my God, we got to see Lando Norris's win. Like everything. Again, I had this feeling even before the race was done, even before the race started, I had this feeling. And I was like, everything I could have possibly wanted out of this weekend, we got, or I got. I don't want to speak for you, but like,
no. It was still. No, you're speaking exactly true. What you're
like, everything we could have asked for out of that weekend, we got it, and it's just we're so lucky that we were able to go and do this and be there and witness this event. Take out all the non-Max winning stuff, all the Lando stuff. Take all of that out.
Just being able to
were there. Yeah. And it's just that video we took as we were walking out where you handed me the mic and everything. Yeah. Like it's fucking poetic of just like how it all came together for us, how it all came together for Lando, and just it's such a just like nice little just like gift that was given to us, and it was beautiful.
And it's also like the association you're going to be able to have with Lando's first race win. Yeah. Also our first race ever. Like, yeah, just all the memories in one is more than we could have asked for. But yeah, like you said, just the way the whole weekend was able to come together just perfectly, I would say at the end was. Yeah. I mean, we were riding a high walking back to that parking lot because it was a far walk and we didn't care.
I don't even remember that walk. I'll be honest with you. I don't remember 1 second of it. No. And like, I can't believe like I said this before when we were on the flight down there. I said to you, I think Miami's gonna be my favorite circuit now, just because I have this association with it now of Miami was our first Grand Prix that we went to. I think I'll always kind of think of it as like I have a special place in my heart for Miami, even if like we get down to a certain point where I'm like, I just love the racing at Spa or whatever, like Miami's always going to have a special place in my heart. That was before Lando won. That was before we had this amazing experience. This I think genuinely will always be my favorite circuit now. Yeah. The fact, like you said, the association that we have with it now, that it was our first Grand Prix that we've ever went to. It was, like you said, going to one of these races in person was a pipe dream. It was something that we were always like, maybe one day, we'll figure it out. We'll do it in like the cheapest way possible, like all this stuff. But the fact that we were able to go and experience it and be there together.
And we took in every single thing that we could. Like, didn't miss anything. That's why I knew I didn't care that we literally spent every single day at track from the morning to the evening because it was worth it. It did I just wanted to take it like a long day. No.
The days flew by. I mean, I remember walking out with you the second day and I was like, how is it already 2 days down?
Yeah. Like race days never seem this fast when we watch it on TV. Yeah. Or race weekends. No, was more than we could have. I mean, it's hard to even put in the words now as we're an hour and 30 minutes in. I don't even just talking about it. It still doesn't feel real. I don't think it's going to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be looking through like the pictures and videos for forever, just because the fact that we got, it's a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm so happy we were able to go so last minute, and it all came together honestly perfectly. So it just more than I could.
This is something we would never do, really. If just it's like even like it just like an impromptu trip of like the day before, it'd be like, hey, we're going to Miami, but like I'm so happy for us and kind of just like proud for us of just like pushing through both of ours like general anxieties that we have with all this and being like, no, we're fucking going and we're doing it and we're gonna be there and we're gonna witness this regardless of how it plays out. We're gonna be there and we're gonna experience it. And it's just like, oh my God. Like we got, like I said, we got everything we could have hoped for out of this weekend. And I like, again, like Lando's race win, I said it in that video that, we have walking out, like genuinely, I think like second happiest day of my life. Just
sorry.
And I'm not even like saying like, oh, because Lando won, but just like the whole
experience. In general. Yeah.
Like, sure, Lando won. Put a very big cherry on top of it of just like, hey, here's this bonus that you're down here, like, but I think one of the second happiest and like coolest days of my life of just being there. Like,
just
it's such an experience.
Yeah.
It's such an experience. And it's such a, like, I know these things are expensive. I know that they're so hard to kind of get to for most people, but I really do. If you have an opportunity to do this, and to go and experience a race, I could not recommend it to you more. Even especially, and again, if you're like us, and if you're like the type of person where it's like doing something like that, like impromptu scares the shit out of you, please go and do it. You will not regret it, and it's going to be the best, like one of the best experiences of your life. If you're a fan of this sport and you're like us, where you're watching this thing day in and day out, like you will not regret it whatsoever.
No, you absolutely will not. It will be memories and stuff for a lifetime, just being able to experience it in firsthand. It's out of this world. It's just I feel like I blacked out the entire
it's the thing. It's so surreal being there for your first time because it's just it's that realization of, okay, I'm here, my favorite drivers are here. These people that have always felt kind of larger than life to me are right here there as well. And I'm watching this happen live. And it's, again, like, it's just, you kind of black out for the whole weekend, but like, you have those memories now. And it's just like this is the thing, like, this is something that we can look back on. Like, next year, when Miami rolls around next year, we can look back on this day and be like, God, that weekend that we went was so
good,
cool, so fantastic. Like, it's just, I can't say enough about it.
We could go on for another hour and a half, but no, it was, before we end, also, I don't know if you have anything else to add. I just would like to give a shout out to Hells and Casper for holding down the fort over on Threads and live posting and stuff for us. It was literally perfect. We couldn't have asked for two better people to do it. So thank you very, very much. What did you want to say?
So we had kind of talked about this when we were leaving. I now have to live up to my promise, and when we started the season, there was talks that, everybody's always been like, oh, when's Owen joining Threads, like all the stuff.
When's Lando going to win?
Promise, and I said, when Lando wins his first race is when I'll join Threads. I will now be joining Threads. We have talked a little bit about how it'll look for us and what we're going to do. We have some ideas, but we're going to iron it out. And, obviously we'll make, it feels weird saying we're going to make an announcement for when I join a social media platform, but we will make an announcement when I join a social media platform.
Very anticipated for the Threads followers for when you're coming. So
we're gonna figure out how it all works. We're gonna get all the details figured out. But yes, I will be joining Threads now. I will be living up to my promise.
He's here. Don't worry. He's covering
Yeah.
people.
So
Yeah.
to wrap it all up, I mean, yeah, I just got to say, like, I'm so genuinely grateful for the fact that we were able to do this. We were able to go down there and see it. And even all the people, like, when we posted on social media saying, like, we're going. The people that, like, got in the comments and they were like, you know, I'm so happy for you guys. Like, it was
genuinely excited. It made me more excited seeing other people excited. Yeah.
Like, it definitely, like, it probably, like, again, like, one of the best days of my life, one of the best weekends of my life. It's just like, I like feel bad saying this, but like, I want to go again. But if that is the only race that we ever go to in our lives,
you're okay with it.
I will not regret that. Again, everything we could have asked for, and the fact that we were able to make it happen, we were able to do it. I was so genuinely grateful for it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna look back on this so well and just be so, again, proud of us that we were able to do it and get there and be there. You know.
Yeah. No, it's not enough words to describe it. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
We did. So this is funny because we were talking about it. Like we posted a thing on Thread saying like over under how long is our episode going to be this weekend. I think we've done pretty well with time. I think so too. I think part of that though, and I think part of why we're falling on the under is because we just genuinely don't know how to describe it. And it's like,
I'm sure we're gonna keep talking about different things in episodes coming up. Like it's not, we're not gonna. I'm sure next week we'll talk about other things that we like remember as more stuff's coming up. Yeah, we're not gonna not talk about it anymore. I'm not gonna talk about it too much, but like, no, I think we're doing well time wise. But we just wanted this. We knew this was the only thing we wanted to talk about on this episode this week because it was a Miami recap, race wise, and also for us in general for the whole entire weekend. So yeah, I knew it was going to be a longer episode, but I think it's a worth it longer episode to hear someone's first person experience on how cool the weekend was and stuff and what you were able to do. So yeah, if you made it this far, thank you. We won't give you a keyword this time.
No.
Just know that Owen's coming to Threads.
No scavenger hunt for, sorry also if you can hear the fire, the ambulance engines going off right now.
This could be a good spot to end it.
Yeah, we'll end it there. Again, like we said, thank you so much for joining and listening to us go on this beautiful rant for an hour and 41 minutes.
Definitely give us a follow if you're not already on our socials. We did post some things. We're gonna post a ton
more to post.
Yeah, I need to make like some TikTok videos, some reels and stuff. I need to post Owen's post-race thoughts, which I think I'm going to do when this is over. But yeah, so we're going to, we'll definitely post more. So definitely give us a follow on both Threads, Instagram, and Twitter. Next week, we'll be back with our normal, regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, normal format.
Yeah. So we get to preview Imola. Last year, we did not get to preview Imola, so that'll be fun to get to watch it. I think for both of us, it might be the first time we take Imola in like full detail. So yeah, that'll be fun. Ferrari upgrades, I hope you work well, like the McLaren upgrades worked well. So I will say this, if those upgrades continue to work like that and Ferrari brings upgrades that work well, we might see some other race winners than not just Max Verstappen.
They might look real interesting. Yeah.
We might be in for actually rest of the season.
Was an article I just got notified in an article for F1 and on ESPN, and it was talking about why McLaren might now be a legitimate threat to Red Bull. And I did think about it for a second because my mind immediately went to like, okay, awesome if we have a 1-2 battle between Red Bull and McLaren this year. And then I thought about it and I was like, well, wait, Ferrari's bringing upgrades to Imola. So I was like, if we have a 3-way battle between Red Bull, Ferrari, and McLaren in terms of constructor standings, this season's going to get really interesting.
Yeah, we're not that far into the season. It could be a good battle, and Red Bull might look vulnerable. So that will be fun to see if that continues. Continues on because Lando beat Red Bull on his own merit. Like, it wasn't like Max, his brakes blew up like Australia. Lando won.
He won that race.
Had the better car. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was on his own merit, which is just, I think, even cooler.
Just adds to it. It just adds that other layer to it.
Yeah. But yeah, so like we said, we'll be back next week, preview Imola. Hopefully we can talk about some upgrades, maybe talk a little bit more about stuff that happened during the race in Miami once we have time to like watch the broadcast and take other stuff in.
Digest it. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be some newy news. We never know what's happening on that front. But yeah, so thank you all for tuning in to another hour and 45-minute episode. We appreciate you. Thank you for living with us this weekend in Miami and interacting with us and everything. Yeah, we'll be back next week, and thank you very, very much.
See you later, guys.